On Christmas Eve, my family mocked my little restaurant job in front of everyone. They laughed, they smirked, they told me to get a real career. But the moment a black SUV stopped outside and the driver said, "Chef Torres, we're ready for your flight," the entire room fell silent. They had no idea where I was really going, or what they were about to see on national television. I arrived at my parents' house on Christmas Eve still smelling faintly of rosemary, butter, and the double shift I had just finished. Snow clung to my jacket as I stepped inside, hoping naively that this year would be different. It wasn't. The moment I walked into the dining room, the warmth of the fireplace was drowned out by laughter. My sister Bianca spotted me first, swirling her wine like she owned the vineyard itself. "Well, well," she said, smirking. "Look who finally made it. Busy night at your little restaurant job." A few cousins snickered. My aunt leaned toward my uncle and whispered loudly, "She works too hard for too little." Poor thing. I forced a smile and hung up my coat. Merry Christmas. Derek, my cousin who talked about his tech job as if he built the internet himself, clapped me on the back. "So, Maya, still chopping onions for minimum wage? Must be fulfilling." The table erupted in laughter. I swallowed the sting. If only they knew what I'd been hiding for months. If only they knew why I'd been working so hard. My mother approached, brushing a speck of lint off my sleeve like she was polishing an embarrassment. "Sweetheart, you should really consider something stable. Cooking is a phase, not a future." Bianca chimed in, "Honestly, Maya, you're almost 30. At some point, you have to grow up." I bit down on my tongue. Hard. They talked over one another about bonuses, promotions, mortgages, weddings as if success could only be measured in spreadsheets and LinkedIn announcements. To them, the kitchen wasn't craft or passion. It was a failure I refused to abandon. I took my seat quietly, letting the humiliation settle like dust around me. But beneath it, something else simmered. Because tomorrow, the world, not my family, would finally see me. Dinner hadn't even started before the second wave of insults rolled in. I was ladling myself a spoonful of mashed potatoes when Bianca's voice cut through the room like a knife. "Oh. Speaking of budgeting, Maya, tell everyone how much you make. Go on. It'll be educational." Oh. Heat rose to my cheeks. "Bianca, stop." But she didn't. She never did. "She barely covers rent," she announced proudly, as if revealing a fun fact about endangered species. "She lives in that tiny studio near the alley. The one with the flickering hallway light." The table chuckled. My father didn't even look up from carving the roast. My mother sighed heavily as though my existence were exhausting. "Maya," Mom said, "your degree wasn't cheap. You could still apply for accounting jobs, you know. Something respectable, something that lasts." My uncle raised his glass. "Hey, at least she'll never starve. Right, chef?" The joke landed hard. Laughter followed, warm and easy except for me. I felt myself shrinking, like I was being folded into a smaller version of myself. A version they preferred. Quiet, apologetic, unthreatening. Derek leaned back smugly. "Look, cooking is fine as a hobby. But as a career? It's cute. You should really consider something long-term before your hands give out." He wiggled his fingers dramatically. Bianca nodded. "Exactly. Who wants to be stuck behind a stove forever? Mom says chefs don't even get benefits." I stared at my plate, letting their voices blur into a haze of condescension. They didn't know the nights I'd spent perfecting sauces until dawn. The burns I wore like badges. The competition I'd risked everything to enter. To them, I was a cautionary tale. Don't be like Maya. Don't chase small dreams. But my dream wasn't small. They were just too narrow to see it. And the moment was coming when they'd have no choice. I was pushing a cold carrot across my plate when my phone buzzed in my pocket, a quick vibration, then another. Urgent. Persistent. No one at the table noticed. They were too busy praising Bianca's latest promotion as if she'd cured a national disease. I excused myself quietly and stepped into the hallway, my hands already trembling. The screen lit up with a name I had memorized the way some people memorize prayers. Master Chef Productions. My heart slammed against my ribs. I opened the message. "Congratulations, Chef Torres. You are officially a finalist." Immediate travel required. Stand by for instructions. I breastis timely have. For a moment, the hallway blurred. I pressed a hand against the wall to steady myself. Months of secrecy, sleepless nights, cuts and burns and doubt all converged into this one trembling breath. A finalist. Me. Another buzz. Another message. Do not share this with anyone yet. Pack essentials, call time imminent. A laugh, half sob, half disbelief escaped my throat before I could stop it. I covered my mouth, swallowing the sound. If my family heard me, they'd think I was choking on mashed potatoes. I typed back quickly, my fingers shaking. Ready. I inhaled deeply, wiped my eyes, and tucked my phone away. Then I walked back into the dining room, where my family was still laughing at jokes I wasn't part of. I sat down quietly, heart pounding with a secret that could crack the room in half. But tonight wasn't the moment. Tomorrow would be. I had barely lowered myself back into my seat when the phone buzzed again, longer this time, insistent. I glanced down discreetly. Incoming call. MasterChef Productions. My breath hitched. I stood up so quickly my chair scraped the floor. Sorry, bathroom, I muttered, not waiting for anyone's response as I hurried into the hallway. I answered in a whisper. Hello? A crisp voice on the other end replied, Maya Torres. This is Jenna, Senior Coordinator for MasterChef Live. We have an emergency. My pulse quickened. What happened? One of the finalists dropped out due to a medical issue. The live finale is being restructured. We need you on set tonight. Papers rustled on her end. A car is already en route to your address. ETA 20 minutes. Please be packed and ready. Tonight? I echoed. Yes. You'll fly private to Los Angeles. Rehearsals begin at 1 a.m. Your room and wardrobe are prepared. Congratulations again. You're stepping into one of the biggest opportunities of your career. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. My entire world narrowed to a single point. Go now or lose everything. I'll be ready, I said. Good. And Maya? The coordinator added. You earned this. See you soon. The call ended. I stared at the screen, at my reflection in the black glass, a girl my family still saw as a failure, a girl they believed would never amount to anything. Not for long. When I returned to the dining room, Bianca raised an eyebrow. Who keeps calling you? Your boss? Need you to go wash more dishes. Laughter rippled around the table. I reached for my coat. I have to leave, I said calmly. My mother gasped. Maya. We haven't even prayed yet. Yeah, Derek added. Don't run off just because someone needs a late-night fry cook. Their words stung, but not enough to stop me. Thank you for dinner, I said softly. But I have somewhere important to be. It's not, well, Bianca scoffed. More important than family? I didn't answer, because the truth was about to reveal itself on a stage brighter than any dining room chandelier. And tomorrow, the world would know my name. I stepped into the cold night air, my breath curling into the darkness like steam rising from a hot skillet. The laughter from inside sharp, dismissive, familiar, muffled as the door closed behind me. Then I saw it. A sleek black SUV idled at the curb, windows tinted, headlights cutting through the snow-dusted driveway. A driver stepped out immediately, straightening his jacket when he spotted me. He opened the rear door with a small bow of his head. Chef Torres, we're on schedule. Luggage? The title hit me harder than the wind. Chef Torres. Inside the house, the door swung open. Bianca stood there, clutching her wine glass like it was part of her arm. What is that? She demanded. Uber black now? Fancy. My father appeared behind her, frowning. Maya, are you seriously leaving? On Christmas Eve. I turned to face them. Their confusion, their irritation, their complete lack of understanding, it all washed over me like a final curtain falling. I told you, I said softly. I have somewhere important to be. Bianca scoffed. Please. No kitchen job sends a luxury car. You're being dramatic. But I didn't owe her explanations, not tonight, not anymore. The driver cleared his throat gently. Miss? We do need to depart. I nodded and slid into the warm interior of the SUV, the soft leather wrapping around me like quiet validation. As the door closed, I caught one last glimpse of their faces, confused, dismissive, utterly unaware. Soon, they would know exactly where I was going. And exactly who I was becoming. The flight landed just past midnight, the runway lights slicing through the darkness as if guiding me toward a version of myself I hadn't yet met. A production assistant met me the moment I stepped off the plane, handing me a warm jacket and a sleek itinerary folder embossed with the MasterChef logo. "Welcome to Los Angeles, Chef Torres," she said, as effortlessly as if the world had always addressed me that way. I followed her through a private terminal, past roped-off corridors and buzzing walkie-talkies. Everything felt like controlled chaos, the kind of chaos that belonged to people who mattered. And tonight, somehow, I was one of them. When the studio doors finally swung open, the sight stole the breath straight from my chest. The MasterChef kitchen gleamed under massive production lights, hundreds of them casting brilliant reflections off steel countertops and polished cookware. Cameras on cranes swept through the air. Crew members rushed from station to station. Judges' chairs sat elevated at the far end, waiting like thrones. This wasn't a kitchen. This was an arena. A stage built to test fire, skill, and soul. A woman with a headset approached me, tablet in hand. "Maya Torres? You'll be working at Station 4. She pointed to a workstation labeled with my name in bold black letters. My name. On the MasterChef floor, my throat tightened. As I walked to my station, celebrity judge Daniel Beaumont, yes, that Daniel Beaumont, the 3 Michelin star legend, looked up from reviewing notes. "You must be Maya," he said, offering a handshake. His grip was warm, steady. "We've watched your audition tapes. Your knife work is exceptional." My heart nearly stopped. "Thank you, chef," another judge, Leela Brooks, chimed in as she approached. "Your braised short ribs? Stunning balance. And that citrus ginger glaze? Brilliant." She smiled. "We're excited to see how you perform live." They weren't joking. They weren't humoring me. They respected me. A stage manager waved me over for promotional filming. Within minutes, makeup artists brushed my face, stylists fixed my hair, and a camera crew positioned me under the lights. "All right, Maya," the director called out. "Tell us what cooking means to you." For a moment, I thought of my family's laughter, their casual dismissals, their absolute certainty that my career was small. Then I lifted my chin. "Cooking," I said, "is where I stop apologizing for who I am." The director grinned. "Beautiful. We filmed promos, dish previews, knife shots, competitor introductions. Hours passed like minutes. I rehearsed timing, practiced plating, walked the studio until every inch felt familiar. And somewhere in the quiet hum of the set, the truth settled inside me. I wasn't the girl my family laughed at. I wasn't small. I wasn't failing. I was exactly where I belonged. Tomorrow, the world would finally see it too. Back home, Christmas Eve had rolled into its late-night phase, the part where everyone loosened their belts, poured more wine, and congratulated themselves for lives they were convinced were enviable. Bianca was showing guests photos from her corporate retreat. Derek was bragging again, this time about stock options. My mother complained that the turkey was slightly dry, though she'd eaten 2 servings. My father had fallen asleep in his recliner, still clutching the TV remote like a trophy. Everything was exactly as I'd left it. Until the television screen flickered. The network cut from a holiday movie marathon to a bright, high-energy promo. A dramatic voiceover boomed through the living room speakers. "Tomorrow night live on MasterChef." The room quieted. Snowy mountains faded into a montage of sizzling pans, chopping knives, roaring flames. Then, my face appeared on the screen. Hair styled, jacket crisp, confidence radiating under the studio lights. The camera zoomed in as I introduced myself. "I'm Chef Maya Torres from Denver, Colorado." The room didn't just go silent, it froze. Bianca's wine glass slipped from her hand, shattering against the hardwood. No one moved to clean it. My mother's mouth hung open. "Am Maya?" she whispered, as though the television might answer her. My father jolted awake. "What the hell?" The promo continued. "A last-minute finalist. A rising culinary force. Watch Chef Torres compete for the title, live." Bianca clutched her chest. No. No, that can't be her. She just chops vegetables." My mother fumbled for her phone. Why didn't she tell us? Why didn't she? My father muttered. We mocked her. All night. And then the calls began. 1 ring. 2 rings. 5 messages. 10. All unanswered. Because while their regret echoed through the house, I was already under the lights. Too busy becoming someone I'd always known I could be. The MasterChef finale felt like stepping into the center of the sun. Every light was brighter, every sound sharper, every heartbeat louder than the one before it. The audience roared as the finalists took their positions, but all I could hear was the rush of my own breath, steady, determined, ready. This was no longer about proving my family wrong. This was about proving myself right. The clock started, and my hands moved like they'd been waiting their entire life for this moment. Searing, chopping, basting, tasting, every motion precise, every flavor deliberate. I poured everything into that final dish. The years of sacrifice, the scars on my hands, the quiet nights spent practicing alone, the laughter I had swallowed just to keep going. When time ran out, my dish stood before the judges like a declaration. I didn't win first place, but the standing ovation they gave me felt like its own kind of victory. And when the cameras cut, when the lights dimmed, when the world finally exhaled, opportunities poured in like a flood. A publisher approached me backstage. We'd love to discuss a cookbook. An investor handed me his card. If you ever want to open your own restaurant, call me. A culinary institute director shook my hand. You have raw talent and discipline. We can help you sharpen your knives even further. It's not common devices. My phone vibrated, non-stop calls, texts, apologies, long paragraphs from family members who had never written me more than 2 sentences before. But I didn't open any of them. Not yet. Some things deserve time, some wounds deserve space. Some successes deserve to be celebrated without interruption. That night, as the city lights of Los Angeles glittered outside my hotel window, I finally allowed myself to breathe, not the breath of someone running, or hiding, or doubting. A breath of someone arriving. I wasn't the girl they mocked anymore. I wasn't the one they dismissed at the dinner table. I was Chef Maya Torres. And the world had finally seen what they never bothered to look for. Tomorrow, I would call my family back. But tonight, I stood fully, completely, unshakably in my own light. If you've stayed with me through this journey, I want to ask you something from the heart. What would you have done in my place? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your perspective matters more than you know. For years, I let other people define my worth. I shrank myself to fit into rooms where I was never meant to stay. If my story teaches anything, I hope it's this: don't wait for permission to believe in your own potential. Family may love you, but they don't always understand you. And sometimes, the people closest to you are the last to see your growth. If you've ever been underestimated, mocked, or laughed at, stand tall. Let your results speak louder than their doubts. And when your moment comes, walk into it with your head high. I'd love to hear your stories too.